Why did you create Tuition Journal?
Right, so I created Tuition Journal because I'd come to a point in my life. Tuition basically means, and journal basically is. So in the process of trying to create Tuition Journal, I kept thinking about people like myself.
So I'm looking at the guest lineup, and that includes, people that you've already done interviews with that we haven't launched yet, and ones that are on the list that you will do interviews with. And I can't help but wonder, what do these people have in common?
Right, because the highlight reel is super misleading. The reality is that most meaningful journeys are super messy. They become a lot more patient with their own journeys. And if you can reduce how much you pay in dumb tax
Without overthinking it, Tuition Journal exists because.
Yeah, so Tuition Journal exists because
So today the cameras are turned, and instead of you asking the questions, I'm going to be asking them. Now, obviously, I know you, but for those who don't, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right, so my name is Niala Russell J. I'm a designer and also the father to a 6-year-old.
Niela Russell Ajay, thank you for joining us today on the Tuition Journal.
Right, super excited to do this.
So, why did you create Tuition Journal?
Right, so I created Tuition Journal because I'd come to a point in my life where I realized that life is always going to charge you some form of tuition. And it's not the kind that you pay to a university, but the kind that you pay through mistakes, bad decisions, failures, and even sometimes through success. And one thing I realized is that most people would oftentimes go through some of these experiences without documenting the lessons. So I wanted to create a space where people could speak about what life has taught them with a ton of honesty and not just what worked, but what it actually cost them to build the life that they currently have. So that's why I created Tuition Journal.
I love that. I really do. I mean, the reality is, success doesn't just fall from the sky, even though there's a lot of people that seem to think it does. It seems like we're going to learn a lot of really interesting things on this journey and see who's paid the tuition and what it's been paid for, right? So, where did the name Tuition Journal come from?
Right. So tuition basically means the price that you pay to learn, right? And journal basically is where you document the stuff that you're learning, right? So tuition journal basically is about documenting the price that people paid for their wisdom, and the lessons that just didn't come from classrooms, but from living life and experiencing it.
Interesting.
So the name is like pretty literal: tuition journal, tuition journal, tuition journal.
I think I've always thought about journaling as something that helps me process my thoughts, but I never really thought about it as a tool for writing down specific lessons. So I love the concept behind the podcast. Do you think it's possible to reduce or eliminate life's tuition fees? I'm really curious. Is that what you think will happen or hope will happen by having the Tuition Journal podcast?
So here's what I think. You probably can't eliminate them 100%, right? Because life is always going to charge you something. But one thing I know you could do for sure is you could reduce them. And one way of doing that is by learning from the mistakes or the tuition that other people have already paid, you know. And if they're willing to, share with you exactly what it cost them and what they've learned and all of that, you might just not have to repeat that same mistake in order for you to understand. It makes it a lot easier. So that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted Tuition Journal, because it allows us to learn through shared experience.
Exactly. I know one of your favorites is Robin Sharma, and he likes to say, there are no mistakes in life, only lessons. Now, learning from other people so you don't have to make the same mistakes and understanding exactly why they've done what they've done, that's going to be incredibly powerful.
It makes it a lot easier.
Right? Especially if they're honest. So I'm listening to everything you're explaining, but I can't help but wonder, who did you have in mind when you created this podcast? I mean, it seems like there's somebody very specific.
Right. So in the process of trying to create Tuition Journal, I kept thinking about people like myself, the people who are just trying to build something or trying to figure things out by themselves or on their own. And if I'm being honest, I was also thinking about my son because I wanted this to be like a template that he would come back to one day just to see the way I was thinking and the kind of conversations that really piqued my interest and the kind of people I enjoyed, like, talking to and stuff like that. Yeah. So basically it was my son and also people just like myself.
I love that this whole idea started from creating a legacy for your son and for him to be able to learn about different things so that he doesn't have to make the mistakes. But I can't help but think there's a little bit of you that also wanted to learn some things as well, because you've definitely been on a unique path and have been on your own journey too.
Exactly. Like having a podcast like this gives me a chance to learn as well. And one thing I've noticed about myself is that within the last couple of years, like the conversations I've had with my mentors and stuff like that has just shifted and changed the way I think about so many things. So you're right. This gives me an opportunity to ask questions that I'm super passionate about and also learn from the tuition that others have already paid in order to grow into a better version of myself.
The passion and the why behind this podcast makes it special. I'm looking at the guest lineup, and that includes people that you've already done interviews with that we haven't, launched yet, and guests that are on the list that you will do interviews with. And I can't help but wonder, what do these people have in common? What's the red thread that links them all together?
Yeah, so they've all paid some form of tuition, and to me, it doesn't really matter whether the individual is an entrepreneur, a creative, a professional, or someone who's doing something completely different. What really connects them is super simple, and is the fact that they've gone through something that's forced them to grow and has taught them some form of a lesson and are willing to share with a ton of honesty, you know. Like for instance, an example of a conversation we had recently would be the one with the fitness trainer and the doctor. It really opened my eyes to what something as simple as drinking a can of soda on a daily does to your body. It also it also made me think about the kind of tuition that people end up paying for ignoring such daily habits. A conversation like that to me really shows how ignoring such small daily habits could either become a prevention or a future medical bill that you did not intend to pay for. So yeah.
When it comes to your guests, why do you think that the audience really needs to see, the process, the struggles, and not just the highlight reel?
Right, because the highlight reel is super misleading, because when people see success, they often would assume that the path was super smooth. But the reality is that most meaningful journeys are super messy. They're the wrong turns, they're the mistakes, they're the failures, they're the moments where you even feel like giving up. And for folks like myself, right, hearing someone speak or just seeing someone speak about what it cost them and stuff like that makes it more achievable. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. A lot of people seem to think that success comes easy to those who are successful, and they don't realize how much hard work, blood, sweat, and tears and hustle went into getting to where they are right now. That's for sure. So, Nielo, when you look at your vision for the podcast, if it turns out the way that you hope, what do you want your audience to get out of this?
I personally hope that, they become a lot more patient with their own journeys, and instead of feeling like they're being left behind or they're doing something completely wrong, they begin to recognize the fact that difficulties are part of the process and every challenge is just another form of tuition that's being paid. And one other thing is that if you can reduce how much you pay in dumb tax, you're able to increase your chances of success. And so that's something that I hope that we can all learn through, like, some of these stories that we're going to be hearing on this podcast.
That's actually really amazing, because what you want people to have is that hope or that knowledge that you can get to where you want to go and you can do what you want to do, but it just might not be as easy as you thought it was going to be. And that's super powerful, to understand that you can do it no matter what. That's really great. All right, Neve. Now you love those rapid fire questions.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you one. Without overthinking it, Tuition Journal exists because...
Yeah, so Tuition Journal exists because I think growth should never cost what others have already paid to figure out.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining us today on Tuition Journal, Nielo, Russell, Ajay. It's been a pleasure, and we're really looking forward to seeing what comes next. Thank you again for joining us today. If this is your first time discovering Tuition Journal, welcome. Subscribe and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And before you go, leave a comment below. We read every single one of them. Tell us what lessons life has been charging you tuition for lately. Your story might help someone else keep going. We appreciate every single one of you.